The first voice Lena Voss heard beneath Europa's ice was her own, and it was screaming. The message burst through the cockpit speakers the moment her submersible sealed against the dead station's outer lock. Static chewed at the words. Metal groaned around her like something waking in pain. Then her own voice came through again, older and rougher than it should have been. If you hear this, do not enter the city. Turn around, cut the clamps, burn your fuel if you have to. If you come inside, everyone you love dies with you. Lena stared at the dark instrument panel and did not move. The voice was hers, not close to hers, not similar. Hers. The same low edge from too many cheap ration packs and too much recycled air. The same clipped rhythm she used when panic got close and she was forcing it back down. Then the speakers cracked once more. Do not let them open the listening chamber. The station went dark again. For a long time, there was only the creak of pressure against the hull, and the muted heartbeat of Europa's buried ocean all around her. Lena let out a breath through her nose and checked the numbers on her console. External pressure stable. Seal good. Oxygen good. Fuel good enough for a careful return if nothing went wrong. Something had already gone wrong. She looked out through the forward port. Beyond, the lamp glare nereid deep rose from the black water like a drowned city behind glass. The access tunnel was choked with frost. The station's docking ring was scarred and dull. Old maintenance lights blinked faintly inside the lock in no pattern she trusted. Officially, Nereid Deep had been dead for 11 years. Officially, a reactor event had cooked the power core, and every person inside the station with it. Officially, there should have been no voice on the other side of that hatch. Lena tapped the secure channel built into the dash. Contract control, she said. You forgot to mention the dead station does impressions. Silence answered her. The line had been bad for most of the descent. That was normal under kilometers of ice and water. What was not normal was how clean the message had sounded when it wanted to. She pinged the channel again. Or maybe you forgot to mention you have my voice on file. Still nothing. Lena leaned back in the pilot chair and rubbed one hand over her mouth. She had taken bad jobs before. Most of her life was bad jobs. Pulling strip processors off freight wrecks near Callisto. Smuggling oxygen tablets past customs crews too lazy to inspect industrial feed crates. Recovering corpses from failed prospecting barges when the families had enough money for retrieval, but not enough for someone respectable. You did what you had to do in the outer system. Respectable got you hungry. This job had sounded simple enough. Dive to a sealed station under Europa, retrieve a black box memory core from an old research archive, return it unopened. No questions, half up front, half on delivery. The half she had already received was more money than she had seen in 2 years. Enough to buy her younger brother Joran off a labor transfer on Ganymede, if she moved quickly and paid the right people. That was why she had ignored the sealed coordinates, the missing client identity, and the kind of money that usually meant someone expected you not to come back. Now her own voice was telling her to leave. Lena closed her eyes and pictured Joran as she had seen him last on the grainy call from the transfer barracks. He had tried to smile for her. He had always tried to make things easier. He had always been bad at hiding fear. You said one more run, he had told her. Then you're done with this scrap pirate life. I said maybe. You said definitely maybe. She had laughed, and he had laughed, and then the line had cut with both of them pretending they still had time. Now time was exactly what she did not have. Lena opened her eyes. If somebody wants to scare me off, she muttered to the dark hatch, they can stand in line. She engaged the magnetic clamps, cycled the cabin into suit mode, and reached behind the chair for her helmet. The lock accepted her manual override on the third try. That bothered her more than the voice. Truly dead places do not hesitate. The inner hatch shuddered and folded open with a sound like old bones cracking. Cold vapor rolled into the docking tube. Lena stepped through with a cutter at her hip, a hand lamp in one fist, and a compact coil gun slung under her arm. The beam cut across a corridor lined with cloudy panels and safety signs in 4 languages. Frost webbed the floor. Water dripped from the ceiling and froze before it landed. Nerea Deep smelled wrong. Lena had expected rot, melted insulation, old coolant, something bitter and chemical. Instead, the air smelled stale but clean, like a room shut up too long and waiting for its owner to come home. She checked the nearest wall display. Blank. She checked her suit clock. Working. She checked the dock registry panel beside the hatch. 1 ship listed, 1 arrival. Voss Lena, docking request authorized. Timestamp 4 hours from now. She stared at it, then snapped a picture with her wrist cam and moved on. The first chamber opened into a transit concourse, and she stopped in spite of herself. Stations in the outer system were built mean. Tight corners, low ceilings, pipes where your shoulder wanted to be, every cubic meter measured in cost and oxygen. Nerea Deep had not been built mean. It had been built by people who expected to stay. A glass dome arched above the concourse, thick as a bunker wall, showing only black water and the dim ghost of suspended ice overhead. Walkways branched from the central ring toward residential sectors, research wings, hydroponics, machine shops, and the deep geology shafts beneath the city. Tables sat in a food court along one curve of the concourse, still holding cups, half-folded napkins, a child's yellow toy submersible abandoned beside a chair. It looked less like a grave and more like the instant before a lunch crowd returned. Lena turned slowly, lamp tracking over storefront shutters and dim kiosks. "Hello," she called, because silence that deep demanded disrespect. Nothing answered. Then somewhere above her, a speaker crackled. "Do not go below sector glass." Her own voice again. This one sounded steadier, tired but in control. Lena raised the coil gun toward the catwalks. Noted. She kept moving. The archive route took her through the residential ring first. Doors stood open on narrow apartments. Personal tablets lay scattered on bunks. A shirt hung halfway out of a washer. Someone had left a kettle on a galley unit, blackened underneath, as if the power had died in the middle of boiling water and no one had come back to notice. What she did not see were bodies. That was wrong enough to make her skin tighten between her shoulders. People do not vanish cleanly. In the 5th apartment, she found a family wall covered in printed photos. Birthdays, school pictures, a woman with silver curls laughing into the camera while a little girl in a station jumpsuit hugged her around the waist. In one corner was a picture of the girl holding up a drawing of Europa as a giant blue eye. Lena looked away. A floor indicator pulsed to life down the corridor, though no power ran anywhere else in the block. The display read, Geology Access DENIED. Then the words changed. Lena VOSS access pending. She took another picture. "Cute," she said. The station had a habit already. It liked to wait until she was looking. In the hydroponics wing, she found the first sign of anything recent. Condensation clung warm and fresh to the inner greenhouse glass. The lights were dead, but fungal lamps glowed blue under one bed of spiraled algae. Water ran in irrigation lines with the soft whisper of blood through veins. Tomato vines had grown wild across a support mesh and burst, their fruit split and rotting sweet in the dimness. Something had kept part of this city alive long after the people went away. She was crouched by a maintenance panel, trying to trace the hidden power feed when her helmet speaker clicked. "Lena." She froze. The voice was not coming through the station speakers now. It was inside her suit channel, on a frequency that should have been locked to her own gear. "Lena, if you found the gardens, you still have time." She swallowed once. Time for what? No answer. Then softer, almost intimate. "Please don't make me remember this again." The channel died. Lena stood very still in the wet blue light, one hand pressed against the greenhouse glass. She had been frightened before in her life. Vacuum leaks, custom scans, gunfire at close range in rotating corridors. This was different. Fear usually had an edge you could face, a direction. This felt like the floor under her thoughts had just become uncertain. She forced herself to breathe slow and steady, until her pulse dropped under the red line in her wrist display. Then she went deeper. The official map on her wrist tablet still showed the geology wing as a sealed utility zone under the main research decks. The station's internal signs kept trying to route her away from it. Every corridor marker she passed flickered with contradictory arrows: deep shaft access, residential return, docking ring, medical triage, observation dome, all of them lighting one after another as if the station could not decide what lie she would like best. Lena followed old instincts instead of signs. Cheap jobs teach you the truth hides where the walls are thickest. Near an equipment elevator, she found the first log that would play. A portable recorder had been clipped inside a service panel as if someone meant to hide it from a search. The screen identified the speaker as Soren Hale, station director. His face came up pale and unshaven. Behind him, red alarms flashed over a room packed with seismic monitors. "If anyone receives this outside the cycle," Hale said, then stopped and frowned as if hearing his own choice of words. "No, if anyone receives this before the next lock, do not interpret the signal as speech. That assumption killed us. We responded as if it wanted conversation, it wants structure, it wants pattern, it wants minds under stress. We gave it all three." The image blurred with interference. Hale leaned closer. "It is not talking to us. It is listening for what changes when we think we are being heard." Then the recorder went black. Lena tucked it into her pack. She was climbing down the equipment ladder beside the elevator shaft when her lamp swept across something embedded in the wall to her left. At first she thought it was just a burst pipe wrapped in foam. Then the beam caught fingers. A human hand protruded from the fused wall material up to the wrist, white and dried. The skin split where mineral growth had crept across it in layers. The rest of the body had been absorbed into the wall itself, as though the bulkhead had thickened around a person standing there. Lena nearly slipped off the ladder. She dropped the last meter to the lower landing and turned the beam on the body fully. A face was visible beneath a glassy sheet of mineral deposit, mouth open, eyes sealed shut, station badge still clipped to the chest. Emory alias ELIO, survey tech. The wall around him was smooth, except where it bulged over his ribs. Lena backed away until her shoulders hit the opposite rail. That was not a reactor accident. Her secure channel hissed alive at once, almost as if something had been waiting for her to understand that much. "Status," said a man's voice. Lena actually laughed, once sharp and humorless. "Nice of you to join." "Report." "No." Static crackled. The man on the other end stayed silent a beat too long. That told her he was not used to hearing that word. She smiled without warmth. "You sent me into a dead city with my own voice on the speakers and people in the walls. So, here's my report. Something happened here that your little job packet did not mention. You are being compensated for hazard." That line always means not enough. The core matters more than the station. Retrieve it and return. Lena leaned closer to the mic. "Who are you?" "I am the client." "Not a name. A name is not useful." She hated him instantly. "Then here is something useful," she said. "If I hear my voice one more time, I triple the price." The pause that followed was small but real. Then the man said, "If the station is active, do not trust any message that flatters your survival instinct." The line cut. Lena stood in the dim ladder well, replaying those words. Not "do not trust the station," not "leave now," not "protect the asset." Do not trust any message that flatters your survival instinct. He knew more than he had paid